Dear kitten, you've probably noticed that there's a new thing in the house. It is called a dog. And I know this because before you, I had a best friend named Peanut. Rest in peace. At first, I assumed Peanut was just a very ugly cat. Charming in his own way, but terrible breath. Awful. So, kitten, here are some things that you need to know. Dear kitten, imagine a cat. Now take away independence, cleanliness, and intelligence. What you have left is basically a dog. Here's an example. Yesterday, I saw the dog sitting on his butt, scooching forward with his front paws, and he looked over at me. And you know what he said? He said, "Check it out, I'm walking on two legs just like the peoples do." I mean, it gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here. Dear kitten, you might see me get a little ninja crazy town now and then. You know, like a... Don't get freaked out. I'm just expressing dominance, which is... Oh my, no, you are not good at that. Oof, that was actually worse. It looked like your spine just sneezed. Oh boy. Dear kitten, you might hear the phrase, "A dog is a man's best friend." That is, frankly, incredible marketing on their part. I don't know how they did it. They're certainly not buying ads in the newspaper. I mean, have you seen what they do with newspapers? Trust me, it's the opposite of reading, if you know what I mean. I mean, they poop on them. Dear kitten, the dog is the sort of creature that will decide whether it should put something in its mouth by putting it in its mouth. That's the level of decision-making that goes on. They basically eat everything. Case in point, butt paper. They even eat those weird brown dehydrated pip nuggets that the humans give us. Don't get mad. Let the dog eat all of our dry food. If it gets caught, it gets put in jail. And right then, we can enjoy the moist deliciousness of the can without interruption. It's a gambit. Dear kitten, you may hear the dog being referred to as a puppet, which I think is some sort of a French way of saying puppet. This explains why they attach that string to him from time to time. Worst marionette ever, if you ask me. But the point is, if they try to put that string on you, just freeze. You don't want to get into show business, trust me. Dear kitten, yes, the dog can be cuddly at times. I mean, just today he came over and he started licking the inside of my ears. Was it weird? Yes, but also rather pleasant. Don't judge. When they get happy, stay to the front, because their tails become some sort of a weird psycho-furry sword. I mean, I've seen them take the legs right out from under a baby. Dear kitten, our lives just got a bit more difficult, and alone time will be harder to find. But at least we can rest assured that the humans won't get too lonely during our naps, and perhaps that is enough. That's right, doggy. Bow down. Dear kitten, since I have hissed at you the customary 437 times, it is now my duty as the head of the household to begrudgingly welcome you. Perhaps you are here to replace me, but I must do my duty and educate you on your new surroundings, as Maximilian once did for me. Rest in peace. Dear kitten, this room here is basically a crapshoot. Either you get the petting of your life, and I'm in two hands, like you don't even know what's going on, or they just lie there and don't do anything. For hours, it's weird. Oh, and I should also point out, on special occasions, they will leave the underwear drawer open to signal their appreciation of me. Just to be clear, it's my spot. It's perfect in there. It's like sleeping surrounded by underwear. Well, I mean, that's exactly what it is. Dear kitten, I remember when I could fit in a shoe. There's nothing like it. Being engulfed in 360 degrees of foot smell. Enjoy it while you can. Dear kitten, because you are so small, you cannot jump, which is sad. Sad for you. But eventually you will, and you will find the places that I refer to as up. This will come in handy, especially around the human larva, which I know smells like milk, but can be a bit grabby. Dear kitten, you should be aware that there are two kinds of food. The first is sort of a dehydrated brown niblet. I think they gave us these because they're training us to be astronauts. Just a guess. The second kind is wet food. It is so special they keep it in little armored metal casings that no claw can penetrate. With no claws to speak of, the humans can somehow open them. It's like some dark magic. Dear kitten, I should warn you of the monster known as vacuum. It can eat and yell at the same time, and I've seen it eat everything. Seriously, like a paperclip and 2 cat toys. Didn't even flinch. To hide from vacuum, you may use the curtains of invisibility. Oh yeah, you're good. Good hiding. Oh boy. Dear kitten, one final note. Once in a while you might see a little red dot. I'm going to tell you this right now. It is real, and it can be caught. I did it once. I held it for a full minute, but when I lifted my paws, it was gone. So kitten, welcome to the household. You'll do just fine. Dear kitten, I've noticed that you're spending quite a bit of time with Bernard, and I think it's time that I told you the rules of friendship. Rule number 1, be picky. I know you don't care as much for Snoop Frog, and I saw you actually pee on Larry, so I'm assuming the two of you aren't that tight. But that's okay. A friend to all is a friend to none. Aristotle said that. He was this little Pekingese that lived next door. I think he's dead now. He's a smart dog. Although I did see him eat a sock once. Rule number 2. Friends are there in times of need. Because of some strange malady or curse, our human friend is rendered completely unconscious each night. And as friends, we must do everything we can. That's right, kitten. Classic CPR. 1 lick on the nose for every 3 breaths. And then, wait, what are you doing? That's hair. What are you trying to, you're trying to resuscitate hair. If those don't work, try warming the gigantic head. Just remember, kitten, every morning when she wakes up, it's because we saved her life. Rule number 3, you have to set limits. You know, I like a belly rub as much as the next cat, but when it's over, it's over. If they don't get the hint from Crazy Eyes, then you get out of there and you present them the butt. A reminder that they have to be friends with all of you, not just the soft parts. And that, kitten, is why we sit with our bums pointed to the things we love. There's an old cat saying that goes, until you've puked on the floor and they've stepped in it, you don't know the depth of your friendship. It's a very literal metaphor, isn't it? Rule number 4, be assertive. If you need something out of the friendship, you take it. The human doesn't get this at all, by the way. I mean, there's times when she calls me and I'm like, seriously? I'm 5 feet away. You know, if you want it, come and get it. Rule number 5, talking is overrated. The mouth hole is where the food goes. And nothing shows that the human loves us more than her offerings of moist, delicious wet food. It says so much more than she could ever say. And I reciprocate. I've brought them 2 mice, 4 crickets, and a half-eaten spider. Don't ask, long story. But trust me, based on how fast they grab those things off the floor, I think that they appreciate it. Rule number 6. What is that? A little catnip. What the heck? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Why does the air taste purple? Hey, little Tinkerbell. Where you going? Where you going with that tiny hammer? Why is there 3 of you? Queen Elizabeth, you were my closest friend.
Where's the bunny? Oh, it's you. Sorry about that. I must have passed out. Rule number 7. Friendships do have a kind of rhythm. Sometimes you might need some alone time. Even a lot of alone time. You know, become friends with you. And sometimes you and your friends might drift apart. But even then, with your best friends, when you need them, you'll find each other again. And you won't have to say a single word. That's nice. So is this a good time to tell you that while I was on catnip, I may or may not have pooped in one of your shoes? And I'm not sure which one. Dear kitten, under my tutelage, you seem to have gotten the hang of this being a kitten thing. I've taught you well, but you may wonder how I became so knowledgeable. It may be hard to believe, but I too was once a tiny buffoon, much like yourself, but cuter than you. Like way cuter. Kind of ridiculous, actually. When I was a kitten, I lived in a wire box with my brothers and one sister. My mama wasn't too keen on me being a cage fighter, but that didn't stop me from training day and night. My dream was to one day take on the beagle that lived on the other side of the room. That drooly-faced knucklehead was always taunting me. But that day would never come to fruition. Instead, my family eventually left, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about them. Except my sister. She was the worst. Dear kitten, they say that ignorance is bliss, but whoever they are must be pretty dumb. My own thirst for knowledge was quite ravenous when I moved away from home. So many things to touch, pockets to nap in, and things to fall off of. But unbeknownst to me, I was being observed. I've told you of Maximilian before, rest in peace. I looked up to him, quite literally. He was massive, and always in the places of up. It wasn't until he took me under his wing that I learned the dark arts of karate. I'm talking about shadow boxing, invisibility training, and even sneak attacks. Now that I think of it, he was actually kind of a jerk. In the end, I did get the last laugh. Because he's dead. Rest in peace, Sensei. I also learned a lot from my friend Cornelius. He didn't say much, but he did teach me patience, posture, and how to stare for a really long time without blinking. He was very good at it. Like, very good. We had a good thing going, but not all friendships are meant to last. Oh well. I learned many things in those early days, but perhaps the most valuable lesson of all is that the wet stuff is the best stuff. I came up with that. The first time it touched my lips, I knew I had chosen the right human. You know what I'm talking about. You chose her too. Kitten? Did you get any of that? Oh, no? Okay, well, fine. I am going to hang out with Richard. Missed a bunch of good stuff. Dear kitten, I see you've noticed the new addition to our home. No, you're not crazy. It is calling to you, and it does want you to destroy it. Don't be timid. I know what you're thinking. This must be some sort of a trap the humans have set for us, but they actually encourage us to scratch these. It's crazy. I remember the first time I encountered the vertical carpet. Of course, they were much bigger back then, enormous pillars reaching endlessly into the sky. Without any sort of guidance or training, I began climbing the first of the towers. Did I mention there were 3 towers? Each one bigger than the last. And there were adversaries along the way, too. The first of which I flung effortlessly from his perch. He plummeted several feet to his death. I had no remorse. Not quite, kitten, but don't get discouraged. Heck, if I'd been, I never would have made it to the second tower, where I was taunted by the gray-headed flesh serpents. As you can imagine, I made short work of them, and they retreated in fear. Though exhausted, I reached deep down inside and found the power to ascend the 3rd tower. And when I arrived at the summit, there was a ceremony held in which the collar of courage was bestowed on me for my valor in the face of extreme danger. Those were the good old days. Keep at it, kitten, and one day you will also... Oh, wow. You did it. That was no joke. When did you start jumping? You're growing up a bit fast. Dear kitten, there's a responsibility I've been meaning to tell you about. It involves the room with the forbidden water bowl. As a kitten, I discovered that it is our duty to accompany the humans every time they go in there. Yes, every time. It's our job to remind them that they need to stand up after a while. One time I forgot, and that poor thing was there for like a half an hour. Her legs must have been completely numb. I studied the human's movements, and I tried to mimic their behavior, but there was some sort of protective seal that only they seemed to be able to remove. What I've come to understand is that they must absorb the water through their backsides. Judging by the sounds they make, it must be a strenuous process. Then they use the butt paper to dry themselves. Why someone would choose to use that when they have a perfectly good tongue is beyond me. I've found my own uses for the butt paper. It's definitely not good for eating, a little dry for my taste, but it feels fantastic on the claws. And if you wrap yourself in it, it's like your own private cloud, like peaceful, soft. It's a place where you lose yourself, but at the same time, you find yourself. There really is nothing better. Actually,